At approximately 9 o'clock on the morning of August 5th, 1943, Private James Reese knelt beside a 60mm mortar in the Sicilian heat, watching German infantry advance through the terrain below his position. 23 years old, a Pennsylvania farm boy who understood mathematics. The 1st Infantry Division had been fighting for Troina for 4 days. The town sat on a mountain, natural fortress. German defensive positions prepared for weeks. This morning, the Germans were counterattacking. Mount Vassillio sector, north of Troina proper, exposed ridgeline. Reese's mortar position was the primary defensive weapon for his company. The mortar weighed 42 pounds total, tube, baseplate, bipod. Approximately 60 rounds of ammunition stacked beside him, high explosive, 3.2 pounds each. His squad had pulled back. He sent them to safety. He stayed. No crew, no spotter, no fire direction center, just one private and the mathematics of indirect fire. The doctrine was clear. Mortars were support weapons, area suppression, cover for infantry. But when the counterattack came, support became everything. Accounts describe what happened next. Estimates vary on the exact duration. What does not vary is the sequence. The mortar fired. The Germans advanced. The rounds kept coming. When it was over, the counterattack had been stopped. Private James Reese did not walk away from that position. The Medal of Honor citation would later describe what he did. Posthumous. This is the story of August 5th, 1943, when a support weapon became primary defense, when one soldier held a line, when mathematics met sacrifice. James William Reese, born April 16th, 1920, Chester, Pennsylvania. His father worked construction. His mother raised 4 children on wages that barely covered rent. James was the second son, quiet, observant, good with his hands. School came easy to him, especially mathematics. While other boys struggled with fractions and geometry, James saw patterns, relationships, how numbers connected to real things. His teacher noticed. This boy should continue his education. But higher education required money the Reese family did not have. When James turned 16, he left school, went to work at a dairy farm outside Chester, milking cows, mending fences, fixing equipment that broke down constantly. The farmer noticed something. When a piece of machinery failed, James could look at it and understand why. He could calculate angles, estimate weight distribution, predict where stress would cause the next failure. "You think like an engineer," the farmer said. James shrugged. He did not think like anything. He just saw how things worked. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. James heard the news on the radio in the barn. He finished the evening milking, walked back to the farmhouse, told the farmer he would be enlisting. "War's not for thinkers," the farmer said. "It's for fighters." "Maybe," James replied, "but somebody has to aim the weapons." He enlisted January 1942, age 21, height 5 feet 10 inches, weight 160 pounds. The Army tested him, aptitude battery, mechanical comprehension, mathematics. The scores placed him in the 95th percentile. "You could train as an artillery officer," the recruiter said. "I don't want to give orders," James said. "I want to fire the weapon." They assigned him to infantry, then mortar training. The 60mm M2 mortar was the smallest weapon in the infantry arsenal that qualified as indirect fire, light enough for a rifle company to carry, powerful enough to suppress enemy positions from behind cover. But using it required understanding something most soldiers never learned. You cannot see your target. You calculate where it is. Then you calculate where the round will land. Then you adjust based on wind, temperature, elevation, and a dozen other variables. It is geometry made lethal. James Reese understood it immediately. The instructors watched him during live fire exercises. He made fewer adjustments than other students. His rounds landed closer to target on first shots. "How are you doing that?" one instructor asked. "I'm thinking about where the round goes," James said, "not where I want it to go." By summer 1942, He was rated as mortar specialist. Not just qualified, specialist. The 1st Infantry Division needed replacements for casualties in North Africa. James Reese shipped out in October 1942. He saw his first combat in Tunisia. Mortars in support of attacking infantry. He fired. He adjusted. He followed the doctrine. It worked. The weapon worked. The doctrine worked. By May 1943, North Africa was secure. The 1st Infantry Division prepared for the next operation, Sicily. The invasion began July 10, 1943, largest amphibious assault in history to that point. The 1st Infantry Division landed near Gela, fought inland, through Italian positions, through German strongpoints. By early August, they reached Troina. What followed would test everything James Reese had learned about mortars, mathematics, and the price of holding a position. Troina sits on a mountain like a fortress from another century. Medieval buildings, stone walls, streets barely wide enough for vehicles, and surrounding it, German defensive positions that had been prepared for weeks. The 15th Panzer Grenadier Division, veterans from the Eastern Front. They knew how to defend terrain. Machine gun nests covering every approach, artillery zeroed on likely attack routes, minefields, wire, kill zones where advancing infantry would be cut to pieces before reaching cover. The 1st Infantry Division attacked August 1, 1943. Progress measured in yards, casualties measured in dozens. Every hill paid for 3 times. Once to take it, once to hold it, once to bury the men who died there. The terrain favored defense, steep slopes, limited approaches, natural choke points, and the Germans used it expertly. By August 4th, American forces had pushed close to the town itself, but the Germans were not withdrawing. They were preparing counterattacks. The doctrine was simple. Let the Americans exhaust themselves attacking uphill, then counterattack, push them back, retake lost positions. August 5th dawned hot. Temperature already climbing toward 90 degrees by early morning. The 1st Infantry Division had seized positions north of Troina, Mount Vassillio sector, not the town itself, but critical high ground overlooking approach routes. If the Americans could hold this sector, they could support the main attack on Troina. If the Germans retook it, the entire offensive would stall. James Reese's company was positioned on the ridgeline, defensive positions hastily prepared, shallow fighting holes, limited cover, but good fields of observation, clear sightlines to the north. Reese set up his mortar, standard procedure, find level ground, check baseplate stability, adjust bipod legs, verify sight alignment. He had approximately 60 rounds, high explosive, stacked in ammunition crates beside the mortar position. His squad was with him, 3 men total, assistant gunner, ammunition bearer, spotter. They had been together since Tunisia. They understood each other, worked efficiently, minimal communication needed. The morning passed quietly, sporadic gunfire, German artillery hitting American positions, but no major attack. Then, around 9 a.m., German artillery intensified. Not harassment fire, coordinated barrage, shells walking across the American positions, 105mm rounds, 88mm fire, heavy mortars. The barrage lasted approximately 10 minutes, then silence. That was when Reese saw them. Movement in the terrain to the north, 400 yards out, German infantry, advancing in organized formations, not a probe, not a patrol, a counterattack. Company strength, estimates suggested approximately 60 soldiers, moving in bounds, one element covering while another advanced. Professional tactics, disciplined, deadly. The company commander grabbed his radio, called for artillery support. The reply came back immediate. Negative. All artillery committed to main attack. You're on your own. The commander looked at his defensive line. Approximately 30 riflemen, 2 machine guns, 1 mortar, against approximately 60 Germans advancing with likely armor support to follow. He moved to Reese's position. Can you stop them? Reese looked at the advancing Germans, calculated distance, rate of advance, time to effective range. I can engage them, he said. The commander stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. Keep firing as long as you can. If the position becomes untenable, pull back with your squad. Reese nodded. The commander walked back to the rifle line, started deploying his men for the defense. James Reese checked his mortar one final time. Elevation, deflection, baseplate level, sight alignment. The Germans were at approximately 400 yards, 350, 300, within effective range. At approximately 9:15 a.m., Reese loaded the first round. High explosive, 3-second fuse, impact detonation. He calculated elevation for 350 yards, adjusted for the heat, added half a degree for the warm barrel, dropped the round into the tube, the distinctive thump, the recoil absorbed by the baseplate driving into the earth, 3 seconds of flight time. The round impacted approximately 200 yards in front of the advancing Germans. Short. Reese added elevation, fired again. This time, the impact was among them. Explosion, smoke, dirt. Reports suggest casualties. The advance hesitated. James Reese loaded the third round. The engagement had begun. Approximately 9:18 a.m., 3 minutes into the engagement. Reese had fired approximately 10 rounds, roughly 50 remaining. The Germans were at approximately 300 yards, still advancing. They had adapted, spread out, moved faster between cover, used smoke grenades to obscure their approach. Reese adjusted his fire pattern. Instead of aiming at clusters, he fired at likely routes of advance, gaps in the terrain, natural corridors, places where infantry had to funnel through restricted areas. Each impact forced the Germans to halt, reassess, find new routes, but they kept coming. At 9:20 a.m., 5 minutes into the engagement, Reese had fired approximately 18 rounds, roughly 40 remaining. His hands were moving automatically now. Grab round, check elevation, drop into tube, step back, observe impact, adjust. Approximately 15 seconds per round. But his mind was calculating constantly. Wind speed, approximately 5 miles per hour from the east, crosswind, pushing the rounds left in flight. He added deflection, compensated for the wind. Temperature, rising. The barrel was heating from sustained fire. Hot barrel meant higher muzzle velocity. Rounds would land long. He reduced elevation. Ground settling. Each recoil drove the base plate deeper into the earth, changing the weapon angle, affecting accuracy. He checked the bubble level on the bipod, off slightly, re-leveled the weapon. The Germans tried to flank. A group moved left, using terrain for cover, trying to get out of the mortar's beaten zone. Reese spotted them, shifted the mortar, adjusted elevation and deflection for the new target, fired 3 rounds in rapid succession, bracketing fire, 1 short, 1 on target, 1 long. Reports indicate the flanking attempt was stopped. At approximately 9:25 a.m., 10 minutes elapsed. Reese had fired 28 rounds, roughly 30 remaining. The German advance had slowed, but they had not stopped. They regrouped, called in their own mortar fire. German 81mm mortars, heavier than Reese's 60mm, longer range, more explosive. Rounds began landing around the American position. Explosions, shrapnel, dirt flying. One landed approximately 15 feet from Reese's position. The blast wave knocked him sideways. His ears rang. Dust filled his eyes. But the mortar was undamaged. He got back up, grabbed another round. The German infantry used the mortar fire as cover, advanced while the Americans were suppressed. At 9:27 a.m., the Germans were at approximately 250 yards. Reese adjusted fire, shorter range, steeper trajectory. He fired as fast as he could load, round after round. Each impact bought seconds, meters, space between the Germans and the American line. At approximately 9:30 a.m., 15 minutes into the engagement, roughly 30 rounds fired, approximately 30 remaining. The Germans were at approximately 200 yards. Reese could see individual soldiers now, uniforms, weapons, movement patterns. He had to keep them there. 200 yards was close, but it was not overrun. The American riflemen were firing now. M1 Garens, aimed shots, disciplined fire. The 2 machine guns opened up, 30 caliber Brownings, long bursts, suppressing fire. But the Germans had cover. They had numbers. They kept advancing. Reese loaded another round, approximately 25 remaining. He was calculating ammunition versus time. 25 rounds, 15 seconds per round, approximately 6 minutes of fire. But he could not fire continuously. He needed to be accurate. Deliberate fire. Make each round matter. The mortar tube was hot now, metal expanding. He could see heat waves rising from the barrel. Hot barrel meant the rounds would travel faster, land beyond target. Reese reduced elevation, compensated for the temperature, fired, impact on target. At 9:35 a.m., 20 minutes elapsed. The base plate had settled. Each recoil drove it deeper, changing the angle, affecting calculations. He checked the level, off slightly. He adjusted the bipod legs, re-leveled the weapon. The Germans were pressing harder. At approximately 9:40 a.m., 25 minutes into the engagement, Reese had fired approximately 40 rounds, approximately 20 remaining. His squad was still with him, assistant gunner helping reload, ammunition bearer bringing rounds forward, spotter calling adjustments. But the fire was intensifying. German machine guns, mortars, small arms. At approximately 9:45 a.m., 30 minutes since the counterattack began, Reese made a decision. He sent his squad back. "Fall back to secondary positions," he said. "I'll cover the withdrawal." The assistant gunner hesitated. "That's an order," Reese said. The squad pulled back, moving quickly, using cover. Reese was alone now. One mortar. Approximately 15 rounds remaining. Against a German counterattack that showed no sign of stopping. He loaded another round. Fired. The position had to hold. Just a little longer. Approximately 9:50 a.m., 35 minutes into the engagement, Reese had fired approximately 45 rounds. Alone now, approximately 15 remaining. The German assault had evolved. They were no longer advancing in organized lines. Small unit tactics, fire and movement. One group suppressing while another bounded forward. Professional infantry, well-trained, experienced. Reese waited for the advancing groups to commit, then fired at them, caught them in the open, between cover points. Each round counted now. No ammunition to waste on suppression, only precision fire. At approximately 9:55 a.m., 40 minutes elapsed. Approximately 10 rounds remaining. The Germans had taken casualties. Accounts vary on the exact number. What is consistent, the attack was faltering. Too much fire, too many losses, momentum broken. But they were not withdrawing. Not yet. At approximately 10 a.m., 45 minutes into the engagement, German mortar fire intensified. They were softening the position, preparing for final assault. Rounds landing close, too close. Explosions, shrapnel, debris. Reese kept firing, loading, adjusting, firing. Approximately 8 rounds remaining. At approximately 10:05 a.m., 50 minutes elapsed. The Germans made their final push. Not all at once, sequential assaults, one group after another, trying to overwhelm the position through persistence. Reese fired at each wave, methodical, calculated, round after round. At approximately 10:10 a.m., 55 minutes into the engagement, approximately 5 rounds remaining. The American machine guns had fallen silent, ammunition exhausted, barrels overheated. The rifle fire was slowing, men running low on ammunition, conserving rounds. Reese's mortar was now the primary weapon holding that sector of the line. Not support, primary. 5 rounds, approximately 1 minute of fire at current rate. He loaded another round, fired, 4 remaining. At approximately 10:15 a.m., 60 minutes elapsed, 3 rounds remaining. The Germans were at approximately 150 yards, closer than the mortar's ideal engagement range, but still effective. Reese adjusted for close range, maximum elevation, steep trajectory, fired, impact among the advancing infantry. 2 rounds remaining. At approximately 10:20 a.m., approximately 65 minutes into the engagement, 1 round left. Accounts describe what happened next. The sequence varies. What does not vary? Reese kept firing until the ammunition was exhausted. He loaded the final round, calculated range, wind, trajectory, maximum elevation, fired. The round arced high, came down steep, impact. The German assault broke. Reports suggest they pulled back, withdrew to their original positions. The counterattack had failed. At approximately 10:25 a.m., 70 minutes after the engagement began, the shooting slowed. The position was holding, but Private James Reese did not answer when the company commander called his name. The 60mm M2 mortar, designed by Edgar Brandt, French engineer, 1930s. The French army adopted it first. Light, portable, effective. The United States licensed the design in 1940. Designated M2, Army Ordnance Specifications. Weight, 42 pounds complete system. Maximum range, 1,985 yards. Minimum range, 100 yards. Rate of fire, 18 rounds per minute with 3-man crew. But Private Reese fired alone. For approximately 70 minutes. The weapon is indirect fire. You cannot see the target. You calculate where it is. You calculate where the round will land. Mathematics, geometry, physics. Elevation angle determines range. The relationship is parabolic, not linear. A round fired at 45 degrees travels farthest. Maximum range. Below 45 degrees, flatter trajectory, faster impact. Above 45 degrees, steeper descent, longer flight time. The mortarman chooses based on the target and the terrain. Wind complicates everything. A round in flight for 3 seconds travels through constantly changing air. Crosswind pushes it sideways. At 200 yards, a 10-mile-per-hour crosswind moves the round approximately 3 feet left or right. The mortarman must calculate, compensate, adjust deflection. Temperature affects propellant. Hot propellant burns faster, increases pressure, extends range. In Sicily's August heat, rounds landed long. The mortarman had to reduce elevation constantly to compensate. Target movement requires leading. If the target moves 5 miles per hour and flight time is 3 seconds, the target travels 22 feet during flight. Aim ahead, not where they are, where they will be. And then there is the weapon itself under sustained fire. The barrel heats. Hot metal expands, changes interior dimensions, affects velocity. A hot barrel sends rounds faster. They land long. The base plate settles. Each recoil drives it deeper into the ground, changes the weapon angle. On hard ground, minimal settling. On soft ground, significant. The mortarman checks level constantly, adjusts, maintains accuracy. The bipod can sink. Soft ground. The legs sink unevenly. Weapon tilts. Rounds go off course. The mortarman must reposition, find solid ground, re-level completely. All of this, every round, every adjustment, that is not operating a weapon, that is mastering a system under fire. The M2 was designed as a support weapon, supplement rifle fire, provide indirect fire when direct fire is blocked, not primary defense, not sole weapon. But on August 5, 1943, at Mount Vassillio, it became primary. Because one soldier understood the mathematics, understood the physics, understood that a weapon is only as effective as the soldier who operates it. And Private James Reese operated it until the ammunition was exhausted. The official Medal of Honor citation. Private James Reese, Company I, 26th Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division. Place and date: Mount Vassillio, Sicily, August 5, 1943. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. Private Reese was acting squad leader of a 60mm mortar squad, which had been providing support to the company. When a strong German counterattack threatened to overrun the company's position, Private Reese, realizing that the mortar was the primary defensive weapon available, sent his squad to safety and remained alone at his position. For approximately 1 hour, Private Reese maintained continuous fire on the attacking enemy forces, adjusting fire and expending all available ammunition. His actions broke the momentum of the enemy counterattack and allowed the company to hold its position. Private Reese was killed in action during this engagement. His extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Posthumous. The citation does not specify the exact round count. It does not detail the calculations. It does not describe the heat or the exhaustion or the mathematics. It says, "He stayed, he fired, he held the line, and he did not walk away." The German counterattack was stopped. The American position held. The battle for Troina continued for 2 more days. The town fell to American forces August 6th, but Mount Vassillio sector had been secured August 5th. Because one mortar kept firing, because one private understood what support meant, because mathematics, applied correctly under fire, can stop an attack. The price? 1 life. Age 23, Chester, Pennsylvania, August 5th, 1943. After the battle, officers surveyed the position. 1 mortar, empty ammunition crates, spent casings. The terrain in front of the position told the story. Impact craters, scattered equipment, evidence of casualties. Accounts from German prisoners later described the counterattack, the mortar fire, the decision to withdraw. The exact casualty count varies across sources. What does not vary, the attack failed. 1 weapon, 1 soldier, approximately 1 hour of sustained fire. The doctrine had to acknowledge what happened. Support weapons could become primary defense, under the right circumstances, with the right soldier. But the cost was documented as well. Private Reese's body was recovered from the mortar position. He was buried initially in Sicily, American Military Cemetery, temporary grave. After the war, his remains were returned to the United States. Final burial, Chester, Pennsylvania. Family plot. The Medal of Honor was presented to his family, December 1943. His mother received it. Small ceremony, brief, respectful. The citation was read, the medal presented. She held it, looked at it, said nothing. What do you say when mathematics requires a son? What do you say when support means sacrifice? The M2 mortar remained in service until the 1980s. 4 decades of use, tens of thousands of rounds fired, countless engagements. But August 5, 1943 remained the standard. When the weapon was asked to do more than designed, when support became primary, when 1 soldier stayed. The 1st Infantry Division continued fighting. Italy, France, Germany. They carried mortars. They provided support. But they remembered Mount Vassillio. They remembered what support could mean. They remembered Private Reese, not as a statistic, not as a casualty report, as the soldier who understood that sometimes support is everything, and sometimes everything requires everything. The M2 mortar is in museums now. Fort Benning, Infantry Museum, display case, specifications placard, service history, campaigns, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, retired 1980s, replaced by newer systems. But the weapon is preserved, temperature controlled, humidity stable. The metal does not corrode. The mechanism does not degrade. Visitors walk past, read the placard, move on. They see a tube, a base plate, a bipod. They do not see August 5th, 1943. They do not see Private Reese, age 23, calculating elevation while Germans advance at 200 yards. They do not see the mathematics of survival. They do not see what it costs when support becomes primary. Because museums preserve weapons, they do not preserve what those weapons demand from the soldiers who fire them. They do not preserve the decision to send your squad to safety and stay alone. They do not preserve the calculation, 60 rounds, approximately 1 hour, against a company-strength attack. They do not preserve the knowledge that mathematics works until the ammunition runs out. And then you are just a soldier, in a position, with empty crates, waiting for what comes next. The M2 mortar worked on August 5, 1943. Edgar Brandt's design, 1930s French engineering, licensed to the United States, adopted 1940. The mathematics were sound. The weapon was effective. The doctrine was correct. Support weapons suppress. Infantry advances. Combined arms. Except when there is no infantry to advance. When the rifles are low on ammunition. When the machine guns are silent. When support is all that remains. Then the doctrine bends. The weapon adapts. The soldier decides. Private James Reese decided. He sent his squad back. He stayed. He fired until the ammunition was exhausted. The position held. The weapon is in a museum. The soldier is in Chester, Pennsylvania. Medal of Honor recipient. Posthumous. Age 23. That is the caliber of August 5th, 1943. August 5th, 1943. Mount Vassillio sector, Sicily. 1 private, 1 mortar, approximately 1 hour. The mathematics were simple. Elevation, deflection, wind, temperature, range, calculate, adjust, fire, repeat, until the ammunition is gone. But mathematics cannot capture sacrifice. They cannot capture the decision to stay when your squad pulls back. They cannot capture what it means to fire a weapon alone for an hour, knowing that when the rounds run out, the position either holds or it doesn't. James Reese did not volunteer for heroism. He was assigned a mortar. He learned to fire it. He became good at it. And when the moment came, he made a choice. Send the squad to safety, stay, fire, hold. The Medal of Honor citation calls it conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity. The after-action reports call it defensive fire, mortar section. The weapon manual calls it indirect fire support. But on August 5th, 1943, it was simpler than that. It was one soldier who understood mathematics, who understood his weapon, who understood what holding a line actually requires, and who paid the price, not in numbers, not in calculations, not in trajectories, in everything. The doctrine said mortars were support weapons. August 5th, 1943 said, support is enough. If you understand the weapon, if you make the calculations, if you stay. Private James Reese, age 23, Chester, Pennsylvania. Medal of Honor recipient. Posthumous. The mortarman who proved that sometimes support holds the line, and sometimes the line demands everything. If you made it this far, you're part of keeping these names alive. Drop a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Did someone in your family serve? Just let us know you're here. More stories like this coming. Don't miss them. Private James Reese held the line on August 5th, 1943. Mathematics can calculate trajectories. Only soldiers can hold them.